Alright, this is part 2 of the Gottoms Frogs, Combo Frogs guide tutorial I have. So this is specifically for the OTKs. The first one was assuming you got to go first and do your whole loops and with the setup. Here I'm assuming that I will gain a battle phase. So you could maybe just opt into doing this strategy instead of all the crazy stuff I do, because this is a lot of really strong and consistent OTKs, but they are pretty linear. So I personally opt into doing the like pseudo FTK stuff, and then side into this if I feel like I can get away with it. But yeah, the big difference is you already have a main deck Death Frog, but you need a second Death Frog, so I'll side in a second Death Frog. And you need a Beelze Frog to be able to make Armory Arms. You can already make Armory Arm, but this is so much more efficient. Also, because I know I'm going second, I'll side in a Heavy Storm. So that way I'll have both Trunade and Heavy Storm. If all they have is things like Deep Prison, Bottomless, Smear Force, then you can do all your draw combo stuff just like in, well, I guess I haven't shown a demonstration, but you can do your draw combo to get to the final state, and along the way draw a Heavy Storm or something, so that even if they have a combat answer, you can do your OTK safely. Also, I'll side out an Upstart Goblin because this functions as a cantrip. It functions as a pseudo Upstart Goblin, either of these. Because when you get going, they get out of your way. Like you take both of these frogs out of your deck, and it makes room for drawing like the Murray Agreed and all that stuff. So you don't actually lose that much consistency besides the typical brick opening hand kind of stuff. So I'll go ahead and show a demonstration. The first things I want to talk about is I have an infographic that I made. It's really complicated and it's still kind of confusing to me, so I'm still working on it. But the point is, it has this demonstration initial board state. It doesn't have to be exactly this, but this is kind of the pattern you'll see when you do the turns, when you do the combos. So if you draw through your entire deck, you'll have something like this. Ideally, you have more hand advantage than this. And actually, for the first combo I want to talk about, you actually need this 5 monster starting board, these 2 cards, and then 6 other cards of anything. For this example, we're just going to do a few junk frogs that I know I don't need. And I guess a Thunder Dragon, because you probably have that. So this is going to be my +6 of card advantage. And then you assume that you used an Exodius to extend into your combo to draw to the end to get the maximum pluses, just general card advantage to get to this point. Yeah, so we're just going to go ahead and pretend like we played out our entire deck. All the spells. And that we summon an Exodius, so everything should be back in the deck. Except for this Thunder Dragon, which should be in the grave. Okay, so this is the initial and most complicated of the combo. So we're going to start with this one. This one requires 14 cards of card advantage. The astute viewer would probably notice this is not 14 cards, this is 13 cards, but Exodius counts as 2 cards of card advantage with Thunder Dragon. So we have 5, 11, 12, 13, 14. So let's go ahead and get started on this one, and then I'll talk more about the other ones. First thing you want to do is just start shrinking it down. We're going to go ahead and make a Mistwurm. So the reason why we're making a Mistwurm is because this is the most complicated, most powerful of the combos that we have at our disposal. This one is 14 card advantage, like I said. What you're doing is you get to make a Mistwurm. So ideally you would have Trunaded or Heavy Stormed. And let's just say they have 2 Dandelion tokens and a face down Raikou. So you want to make the Mistwurm to bounce the non-spell and trap stall defense position monsters they have. And that's why you're going to make the Mistwurm. So we're going to go ahead and use 4 cards to make this Mistwurm. So it's a pretty expensive Mistwurm. But yeah, so not only is this OTKing through monsters, it's also immune to Gorz. And that's kind of the first thing we're going to do here. We have this 14 card combo that is immune to Gorz and bounces 3 cards, usually monsters. And we also have a 13 card combo that doesn't make Mistwurm, and it just assumes an open board, but it's also immune to Gorz. So yeah, next we are going to make an armory arm. So let's get some Fishborgs out here. We have the discard for each of them. For a Beelze. So this is why we run Beelze, because we don't want to bleed card advantage to make all this stuff. Mistwurm was an exception. In theory, you could make it with one fewer card if you wanted to run 2 Beelzes. So that's just a note to take. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and make an armory arm. And I'm not sure if this is perfect, but I know it works so far, so I've just never deviated from it. I just put all the armory arms I'm going to make on the first Mistwurm. Actually, I think it's necessary. I think you have to do it. So here, I believe we still have a Death Frog in the deck, so we want to go ahead and curve that out before we use the Exodius to refresh. So we're going to discard. Just go ahead and shrink it down a little bit. We want a level 2 non-tuner, which I almost always use Poison Draw because if you have to stop, it's not the card you want in your deck. And you do not have to make Red Dragon, but I usually make Red Dragon. It could be a Colossal Fighter. This is excessive damage, but I run the Red Dragon and it's big, so technically it's more vulnerable to Battle Fader. If you think your opponent could possibly be playing Battle Fader, so any sort of weird rogue deck, quick draw deck, they usually run 1 or 0. And then Frog Monarchs run usually 3, but sometimes they run like 2 or something. But only those situations you have to worry about that. Almost never do you have to worry about this being a liability. So yeah, we have exactly the bare minimum number of cards to continue from here. We use the non-Thunder Dragon to get our Fishborg out of the deck. Sorry, out of the grave. Then we Exodius. Exodius is going to send back everything. But these Thunder Dragons we're going to put to the side because there's an obvious little trick. So we're going to put back all these monsters we pulled out. I think it's all monsters, yep. Put them back. And then we discard the 1 Thunder Dragon we had in hand to get these back. Simple enough. So here we want to go ahead and make our second and last armory arm. You don't really have to memorize it step by step. It's like you want to kind of remember how you're building it. And the point is you're curving out your Death Frogs and your Beelze Frogs. So we're going to go ahead and make our second armory arm. So yeah, you go ahead and equip this one to the Mistwurm, so we'll put it over here so it's obvious. And then we use these last 2 cards to make a Goyo. Which I do not have a second Fishborg in here, so we have to do it one at a time. In theory, if you had more card advantage, which is possible but really unlikely, this is usually the cap. I believe you can do this as long as you don't minus at all, and you don't even have to Pot of Avarice away a Thunder Dragon. So if you want to do more than this, then you have to also Pot of Avarice a Thunder Dragon and get the plus off that too. So you'd have to be a pretty gas hand to do more than this. But it's possible, just not likely. But you could make a Brionac instead of a Goyo. But for maximum damage, you make a Goyo. Okay. So here we still have one Death Frog still in the deck. So we go ahead and kill the Substitoad. And we'll get that last Death Frog. Okay. So this is the first combo, the first OTK. So this assumes that you heavy or truenated, or you're just rolling the dice and ignoring their back row. If I were to do that, I'd probably make a Stardust or a Thought Ruler, I don't know. But that'd be just crazy to do something this all in without having a guarantee that your attack's going to go through. But yeah, so it's the simple play around Gorz tactic that you always use. You attack with the lowest first, so attack for 19 into Gorz. If they summon the Gorz, you kill the Gorz with the Mistwurm. That's 2,700 attack times 2 because you have two armory arm triggers. And then it's guaranteed lethal from there. You use the Goyo to kill the token, and then another 3k. If you attack with this, and then they do the Gorz on Goyo, then just the Mistwurm damage is enough. And then of course, if you just do this, this, and this, then this can run over the Gorz. And if they don't have a Gorz at all, then it's 12.2 thousand damage. So this is the first OTK. Gorz immune, 3 permanents immune, so that example I gave with like face down monsters. And the reason why it's specifically like face down monsters is because of the other options I'll show you later. So that is combo number 1. That's 14 cards of card advantage. So we're going to go ahead and reset. Feel free to skip past this next one because it's basically the exact same thing, but with a level 8 synchro instead of Mistwurm. But I'm just going to go ahead and show it again in case someone wants to skip to this part. So we're going to assume the same situation where you have a, one of your Exodius to refill everything. One is already used to draw out your deck. And I guess there's no reason to pick up all these spells. We want a Thunder Dragon in hand, probably a second one realistically. Go ahead and put that in the grave. And it's just so much simpler to just have the Fishborgs out. That's usually how your board will look anyway. Okay. So we have, let's make sure I have the right amount of card advantage. This is 5. These 2, and then this needs to be +5 this time. So let's just grab like 2 Substitoad, or I guess 2 Swap Frogs. It really doesn't matter. I'm not going to use these. Okay. So we summon this Exodius. So every monster goes back. Thunder Dragon's obviously in there because that's how we did this Thunder Dragon stuff. Doesn't really matter. Okay. So in this case, we do the exact same thing, and the only thing we're going to do differently is not make a Mistwurm, so we're going to not summon the Treeborn. Let's go ahead and get this out of the way. So we're going to do a level 2. We're going to do a level 5. And we're going to synchro into Red Dragon Archfiend. And again, this doesn't have to be a Red Dragon. This is all excessive damage. So it could be just Armory Arm, or sorry, Colossal Fighter or Thought Ruler. I'll probably even Stardust, I think. I mean, it's probably enough. But yeah, we'll start off like that. Yeah. So again, we're going to make Fishborg Blaster. And we want to make another Armory Arm. So we use level 3 to do that. Again, you equip to your first synchro because that's how you make the room to do the stuff. And also, this is the Gorz protection. And remember, this is the same combo. It's Gorz immune. It just requires your opponent to have an open field. Yeah, so we want to get some more stuff out here. So the next step is to make another level 8 synchro, which I already discarded all. So we use our second Death Frog, another level 2 non-tuner. And we're going to make another Red Dragon. You know what? Fuck yeah, we'll just do Red Dragon. This can be anything, it's excessive damage. I think totally, completely, this is 12.7k damage, so it's excessive. So do it however you want. We have to discard this last card. Again, we always need these to continue, so this is our last card. We're going to get this Fishborg out. We will summon the Exodius, send everything back. So these all go back. So does Thunder Dragon. Simple enough. Discard Thunder Dragon. Get these 2 back. Okay. So now we want to make another Armory Arm. You make the Armory Arms because they don't take any monster zones, so you always want to make them as soon as possible. And the big thing that makes you Gorz immune is having double Armory Arm. That's why you need specifically this number of cards. Again, it'd be cheaper if you ran 2 Beelze Frogs. So we're going to use these 2 cards to make another Goyo. Discard 2, one's for Fishborg, sack it for this Death Frog, and then discard the other Thunder Dragon for the second Fishborg. For Goyo, and then you sack the Substitoad for the last Death Frog. There you have it. So this is the exact same thing, just no Mistwurm. It's just good to know that if you have 1 fewer cards, and this is the only way you can go for it. It's still a strong play because you can Goyo. depending on if they have a face down or something. And again, you're assuming a face down, because if they had a face up and you had this much card advantage, you'd be able to Colossal Fighter Armory Arm, even if it had 0 attack. Yeah. So I suppose this would be useful if they had an attack position Spirit Reaper, right? This would get there. Okay, so those are the two complicated combos, and they're complicated because you have to be very careful with your Exodius reload, and you're making 2 Armory Arms, so you have to be careful. You have to have an immense amount of card advantage. That's mostly ideal, so we'll see what's more real. Okay, so these are a little bit more complicated, so I'll have to check out my notes a little bit. Yeah, so for this first one, these are the same thing. This is a Mistwurm for 10 cards of total card advantage, and the same thing but with a level 8 synchro instead of a Mistwurm for 9 cards of card advantage. And this is OTKs that do not play around Gorz. So it's a lot more reasonable for you to have this much card advantage. And again, just want to take another note. This is assuming only 2 upstarts. So specifically this level 8 combo, it's specifically with Red Dragon Archfiend, it's exactly 10,000 damage. So that's a big reason why you side out the second upstart. Not as well as you need to side something out. So we'll go ahead and make the same ideal board. This is the third combo. And I'll put links in the description so you can shortcut to wherever you want to see, whatever you want to see. Okay, so assume one's been used, 1 in the hand, and I said 10 cards of card advantage, so 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so this one's a little bit more complicated, different complicated. So here the first thing we do is we make a Mistwurm for the first 10 card combo. So we'll go ahead and get a level 5. We are not going to use 4 cards to make this Mistwurm. We're going to make what I call an easy Mistwurm. So Death Frog, and then we want to go ahead and straight pull out the Beelze Frog and make a Mistwurm out of that. So this is level 8, level 9. For an easy Mistwurm. So this is much more likely that you want to OTK and then Mistwurm clears out whatever is getting in your way. Of course, like if say it was a bunch of back row, then maybe they didn't even have the Gorz, so maybe this will come up more likely. And then we want to go ahead and slam our Exodius right away. And I'm just following my notes here, so if this is wrong, we're about to find out. Okay. Pull these back. Discard Thunder Dragon for 2 Thunder Dragons. Alright. So next we will make a Red Dragon Archfiend. Yep, Red Dragon Archfiend. So we're going to go ahead and clear some room for that. That was our one and only Exodius, so it actually is simple. I just had a little brain fart there. Get our Red Dragon out. Discard. Go ahead and discard for both. What was important is when you put the Exodius down, you want to make sure you discard the Thunder Dragon so you can get the +1 out of that. But here we'll go ahead and make, I think we go straight into Goyo. We'll make a Goyo Guardian. So that's all of our gas for the most part. So this is pretty important because this is I think it's Exodius. Discard Fishborg. So we don't have any Death Frogs left, but we do have a Beelze Frog with 1200 attack, and we'll go ahead and clear this guy out for Swap Frog. Yeah, I think I did that right. So it's a little bit different because you're not playing around Gorz. You still have the regular attacking order, but you're going to have smaller monsters. Luckily, you probably cleared their board. So how much damage is this? This is 4k. This is 7k. This is 8k. So yeah, 10.5k damage. So yeah, that's the 10 card OTK. This could be a Stardust and it'd be exact lethal. Yeah, but then it's like in this case, you'd rather have your monsters like disjointed attack. So if they do have a Gorz, even though it's not an OTK, you're not stuck with it. If you have two 2500 attack monsters, things can get a little weird. But yeah, so that's the 10 card OTK where you're not playing around Gorz, but you do get to bounce 3 cards. So the next one we're going to do is similar, but instead of making a Mistwurm, we're going to make another Red Dragon Archfiend. So if you want to skip the next one and you kind of got it, then go ahead, by all means, skip to the pretty self-explanatory last part. But yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and do it again in case someone wants to skip to this part. Oops. So we have an Exodius in play, in hand. Thunder Dragon in grave. Bunch of spells. So I'm confident there's room to improve these. There might even be some stuff I'm not thinking of. I definitely have not practiced enough for these to have come up really at all. It's always easier and typically safer to just make Colossal Fighter Armory Arm. But it is nice to know that you do have these options and that the plays probably would come up at some point. So this is our bare minimum setup, and we need, for this example, we need 9 cards, so 5, 6, 7, 8. So you only need 1 extra card. If I'm not mistaken, I might mess this up, but if I'm not mistaken, you might need another, but I think if you sequence it right, you're okay. Let's just assume it's a Thunder Dragon. Yeah. Okay. So let's count again. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All right. So this is the OTK where they have an open board and you're not playing around Gorz. So let's go for it. So first step, instead of making a Mistwurm, we're going to go ahead and make a Red Dragon Archfiend. That means we need a Death Frog and a level 2, which I almost always just do poison draw. Doesn't matter. So here it does matter. This OTK is why I run 2 Red Dragon Archfiends. So you can determine how often you think you would go for this, but this does exactly 10,000 damage in the end. So this does require you. Actually, I think I was supposed to do this instead of the Fishborg. I think that matters for this one. Yeah. So we go straight into Red Dragon. And yeah, so we want to go ahead and pull out another Fishborg before we slam this Exodius. So I suppose it didn't matter. It didn't matter. But yeah, go ahead and put this Exodius out. Get that Thunder Dragon +1, and all you're doing is putting back basically just another Red Dragon Archfiend. So we'll go ahead and make that Red Dragon Archfiend. I think that was the correct thing to do. Yeah, I think so. So you make a Red Dragon. And then we're going to make a Goyo. Yeah, we're going to make a Goyo. Right. So unfortunately, this isn't a situation where if you had more cards of card advantage, you could just make a Brionac and bounce things, because this is exactly lethal. Only given the scenario where you didn't use both Upstart Goblins would you be able to do something like that. So lastly, we sack this for the Beelze Frog. So that is Beelze Frog plus Goyo, that's 4k. These are 6k, so that's 10,000 exactly. So this is the OTK with 9 cards of card advantage, and you are not playing around Gorz, and your opponent has to have an empty board. But it's also the one where you need 2 Red Dragon Archfiends. So that's it for the regular OTKs. This last part hardly needs explanation, but we're going to go ahead and include it in the video. And that's the Colossal Fighter Armory Arm stuff. So we're going to assume the exact same board state as before. Put all this stuff back. Whoops. Okay, so for this first example, we have 3 different Colossal Fighter Armory Arm OTKs. So the first and worst case scenario is your opponent has an attack position monster that has 0 attack. That should never happen, but really it's anything with 800 or less attack, I believe. So if your opponent has a Dandelion in attack position, then, then you'd be able to Colossal Fighter Armory Arm into it. So for this one, you need 10 cards of card advantage. It's exactly the same number of card advantage, same amount of card advantage as Mistwurm without playing around Gorz. So technically, it's safer. So let's see if we have the right amount of cards. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we just need 1 more card of card advantage. Can't use that one. Okay. So let's just double check so I don't waste time. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So this is just Colossal Fighter Armory Arm. With 10 cards, it's a little... yeah, this one's straightforward. So... Death Frog. Doesn't have to be Poison Draw, you just need a level 2, but I like Poison Draw. We'll start off with Colossal Fighter. And then we make what I call an easy Armory Arm. It's just like earlier when I said easy Mistwurm, where I used the Beelze frog. But that's we only have that as an option because I do make a hard Armory Arm using 3 cards. So we'll go ahead and go straight into the Armory Arm, which we're going to put on our opponent's Dandelion. I guess I can still just go over here, it doesn't matter. Alright, so this next step, we use our last card to get Fishborg out. Last card because we only get the +1 if we keep the Thunder Dragon, so we slam this Exodius. That +1, you guys get it by now. Put all this stuff back. Okay, so this is going to equal 2 more Armory Arms. So we'll go ahead and make an easy Armory Arm with the Beelze we just put back. Isn't this so much easier than the crazy stuff I did in the beginning? So yeah, now we have 3 cards of card advantage to make the next one. So we're going to go ahead and equip this to our opponent's monster. So our Dandelion has 2300 attack right now, not quite enough. So here we'll go Fishborg. And discard the last one. Oh, yep, I don't have a Fishborg there. So we go ahead and sack this for a level 2 non-tuner. Good old Poison Draw. Discard Thunder Dragon for Fishborg. If you want to, just in case, but you can just use the Substitoad, you can sack this for Treeborn, but we're not going to be crazy. So this is a hard Armory Arm because it takes 3 cards of card advantage, and this is why you have the 3rd Armory Arm in your extra deck. So if you don't want to put the 2nd Red Dragon, then you'll get rid of one of these OTKs. You decide whether or not it's worth it. And if you don't want this OTK, then you don't have... This is the only one that uses 3 Armory Arms, is if you specifically have 10 cards of card advantage. So again, if they have a Volcanic Shell in attack position, a Dandelion in attack position, some crazy stuff, then you're able to Colossal Fighter Armory Arm them, which is safer, with the same amount of cards, safer than doing the Mistwurm thing. So that's one of the simplest ones. So that's the 10 arm one. So you would think that, oh, you can just do fewer steps to do it with, oh, if I just want 2 Armory Arms, I'll just not do that last step. That might be that is true for the 1 Armory Arm, but it's not true for the 2 armory arms. So no matter what, I'm going to go through all of them. So if you get it by now, obviously you can tune out, but we're going to go ahead and just do it all comprehensively, and we're going to show you the situation with Colossal Fighter with 2 armory arms on your opponent's monster with 900 or less attack. Yeah, that's correct. And no warriors. Obviously, the more warriors, the bigger your opponent's monster has to be. Warriors engraved, that is. And this one does not require 10 cards of card advantage. It requires 7 cards of card advantage. So we'll go ahead and show that example. So I think you can do it this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So let's try it this way. So you want to make the armory arm first. That's why I got confused, because I'm used to making the biggest thing first. So in specifically the case where you make 2 armory arms, you make an armory arm first. If I can find it. Beelze frog. Okay, there's our armory. Go ahead and equip it to your opponent's monster with 900 or less attack. 900 more attack. So yeah, okay. So we have a Fishborg out, Exodius. So it does work with Thunder Dragon. It's just I confused myself. Put all the stuff back. Okay. So this is going to be a Colossal Fighter. Yeah, so if I look back and I find this video embarrassing, then I might re-upload it. But for now, people can fast forward. Colossal Fighter. Yeah. Yeah, okay, I confused myself again. So the Substitoad sacks itself for the last piece. So all you do is you make 2 easy armory arms, and that's only possible because you made the armory arm first, used the Beelze first, and then you made a Colossal Fighter, which always takes the same amount of cards. Yeah, simple enough. I just confused myself. So yeah, it doesn't seem like any of these where the Exodius Thunder Dragon thing gets in your way. That's always the ideal thing you want to curve out, because that's usually how you get extra card advantage. So we had a little bit of hiccup there, but this is the more common 2 armory arms with Colossal Fighter. So where 3 armory arms was 10 cards, this one is 7 cards. And that's because one of your armory arms, when you used 3, you used 3 cards. You did a Substitoad, a Poison Draw Frog, and a Fishborg. Here, both of these used the Beelze, and that's why it's 7 cards instead of 8. Again, if you ran 2 Beelzes, then the triple armory arm thing would be 8 cards total of 9 cards total of card advantage instead of 10. Okay, so now we have the simplest one, the one that should come up the most. And yeah, you hardly have to think through this one, so hopefully I don't jinx myself saying that one. But we'll go ahead and reset the board to the same board state I always have. And this one requires 5 cards of card advantage. I don't think it even requires Exodius. No, I think it does require Exodius. So no matter what, you always need to have the 1 Exodius. If you have enough cards of card advantage, you can do this one without the one in hand, but we're going to do that because that's usually the situation that comes up. This one, if you had to use all your Exodiuses to draw through your deck, you could still make it happen. So that's important to know. Yeah, let's just keep it consistent, do it that way. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's 1 too many. We'll just keep it simple. Sure. Well, I'm not sure. Okay. So this one's 5 cards of card advantage. Yeah, simple enough. So we can make the Death Frog. Discard for Fishborg. Yeah, simple enough. I was just seeing if this required anything special, but it really doesn't. Discard that for the Fishborg. So this is a place where you can mess up. You're out of cards. So don't do what I normally do, which is always sack this. If you're on your last step, you want to make sure you sack the Substitoad for the Beelze Frog. So this is the least complicated combo. That's one Colossal Fighter, one Armory Arm. Put on your opponent's, I don't know, Volcanic Rocket, right? Yeah, so that's all the combos. So to rehash, this one is 5 cards for one Colossal Fighter Armory Arm. It is 7 cards for 2 Armory Arms and 1 Colossal Fighter. It's 10 cards for 1 Colossal Fighter and 3 Armory Arms. And those are the Colossal Fighter Armory Arm OTKs. There is 2 more that, or I guess there's 4 more. So there's another one that has 10 cards. So this one with 3 Armory Arms is 10 cards. The other one is Mistwurm for, I think it was just over lethal, is 10.5k damage. But you got Mistwurm, but you didn't play through Gorz. There was 9 cards where you didn't get Mistwurm, and it was exactly 10,000 damage. And that one required them to have an open field. Then there was 13 cards and 14 cards. So 14 cards is you make a Mistwurm, you OTK even through Gorz. So you get the Mistwurm bounce and OTK through Gorz. And 13 cards was the same thing, but without bouncing their board, but you do get to OTK through Gorz. So those are different situations that can come up. Things get a little complicated if you think they might have a Tragodia or something. Luckily, Gorz is more of a staple than both Battle Fader and Tragodia, so you have to kind of play it by ear yourself. If ever I was really scared, I would probably just wait until they summoned a monster and then just do the Colossal Fighter Armory Arm stuff. But you never know. These are the fringe cases that would come up where you need to do an OTK, and you're able to draw it through your entire deck. So again, this is assuming you're doubling your chances of clearing all the back row because you're siding in the Heavy Storm. This is the lightest side deck strategy, so you could do more tricky stuff. And as I'm developing the deck, I'll be figuring out the non-crazy combo stuff that I can side in and still be able to combo. Because I found this deck can grind, so I need to be able to win those grinds, and that's another thing that we're going to go over later in the future once I learn them. So this is part 2 of my tutorial series. I had a little bit of hiccup there, but I think you can easily get the picture if you want to walk through it if you care enough. Yeah, you can figure out. I didn't mess it up. I just took a little bit of time to figure out that one step. Lastly, I have at least one more part to this series that I want to put up. There might be another one after that, but at least one more where I can demonstrate my thought process of drawing through the combo in the first place. So the regular setup turn. I might even play through some hands. I haven't really thought about how I'm going to do it yet, but this is the one I for sure wanted to get out. This one is so complicated. You saw me even struggling with it a little bit, and it's all for just different lines. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I think this is a cool deck. Go ahead and comment and subscribe if you guys are new here. Otherwise, I'll see you guys later. Thanks so much for stopping by.